Here we go. Welcome back to Ash's Reality Recaps, Married at First Sight. This is the first episode after the initial decision day. Now, again, Michael and Chloe still have their own decision day, so there will be a second decision day. But this is the first episode after the first decision day for the other four couples. Well, truly three couples because Orion, they were already divorced, so we're not really going to worry about them. But we're going to touch on them in this episode, so just hold tight. Hold tight. Things have changed. All right, let's jump into it. All right, first off, let's talk about Emily and Brennan. So Brennan played a very, very, very small role in this episode. They basically showed him playing some pool with a friend. His friend said, "Do you regret anything?" He said, "No, I don't regret anything. I'm better off without her." That's the end of Brennan's story. Hopefully he's done with this series. We just don't need to see him at this point, but that is what it is. Emily. Now, here's my issue with Emily. Emily played a big role in this episode because Emily and Becca spent a lot of time together. They looked at a house. They moved in somewhere. They just kind of got as much camera time as they possibly could. Now, Emily, for me, is still an issue because we already know that she forced Brennan to stay in this episode or stay in this series so that she could keep on the series and make that money and basically just build her, followers on social media, whatever. That's basically how that came about. Production's playing right into it. They're giving her all the camera time that she wants. She's doing her sob story about how Brennan didn't give her the time of day. Look, we understand at this point Brennan was honest with her up front, told her that he wasn't attracted to her. Just move on, but they're going to keep giving Emily that screen time. So in last night's episode, that's all it was. Emily and Becca ran around like best friends. They got their auras read, and that was kind of odd because they had basically the exact same aura, but that aura told a different story. But anyhow, let's move on to the next couple. Cameron and Claire. The only real role that Cameron and Claire played in this first episode after Decision Day was Cameron spent some time talking to Michael on the phone about Michael's Decision Day, which is looming at this point 15 days down the road. Now, my wife and I did some calculations, and it looks like Michael and his wife only get 5 or 6 weeks, so they definitely get a shortened period of time. So Michael and Chloe get a shortened period of time, which doesn't make any sense. They rush through like a 2-day honeymoon. Again, we'll get into that in a minute. But anyhow, Cameron had a conversation with Michael. He basically told Michael, have a backup plan, make sure you go into it looking out for yourself, ask the hard questions now, find out that, after your decision day, can you stay married? It was some good questions, but it was a very odd conversation because it was kind of a roundabout. We wasn't sure if they was agreeing with each other or disagreeing with each other. But anyhow, in the course of that conversation, I think Cameron opened Michael's eyes to really getting over that honeymoon phase of this whole process and looking at Chloe and figuring out if this is who he truly wants to be with. So let's move into Chloe and Michael. So Chloe and Michael, the wheels are finally starting to come off the train. The honeymoon period is ending. Michael's starting to ask some of the serious questions to Chloe. Chloe's starting to give Michael some off-the-wall answers. Chloe, at one point, they're in a hot tub, asks Michael, if decision day was tomorrow, what would your decision be? Michael is very honest and upfront. He said, hey, we've had a great time up till now, but honestly, we have 2 more weeks to get to know each other, and I don't have enough information to make that decision right now. You could see the disappointment on her face, and her complete attitude changed after that. But something else that I want to mention is during these conversations, now, Michael has already opened up and said that initially he didn't want kids and he didn't want this and he didn't want that, but he found out that Chloe wants kids and Chloe wants to adopt, so he's okay with it. He's determined that, he likes her enough that he would be willing to do it. Well, during the course of this conversation, Chloe says that she wants to adopt 5 kids at once. 5 at once. High school aged kids at once, which is slightly overwhelming, to which Michael said that would take up a lot of space because Chloe wants all of those kids to have their own room. Now, unless Chloe makes way more money than we expect, there is no way in hell that these two can adopt 5 kids at once and give each one of them their own room. So Michael kind of took a step back. You could see the wind come out of his sails. He starts kind of thinking about that conversation with Cameron and going, oh, yeah, is this the right relationship for me? And it gets a little awkward after that. Again, from this point throughout the rest of the episode, you can just see that there's some frustration between the two of them. Chloe obviously wants Michael to go headlong into everything that she wants and just agree. Michael's starting to realize that this just might not be the best situation for him. And leading into the preview of next week, you can really see when they meet with the experts that the conversation really kind of goes sideways and Michael starts to have second thoughts about this entire situation with Chloe. But we'll get into that next week. Let's move into our next couple. Austin finally manned up and admitted to lying. He finally admitted to lying to Becca about being out with the producer for drinks. If you believe his story, he said that he was out for drinks as a friend. Brennan was apparently there. Either way, no matter how you slice that onion, he lied. That does damage his credibility. That is a lie. It was a lie recorded on TV and everybody saw it. You could see the discomfort. There are a lot of rumors out there as far as what the actual situation was that stems from the producer was influencing the decision on decision day. That producer was actually dating a different cast member of the cast. There's just so many rumors out there. I'm not going to bring it up anymore on this channel. If you want to do the research, it's out there. Just look for it on Reddit. There's things all over the place. But anyhow, Austin manned up. He apologized to us as an audience, but he hasn't apologized to Becca as a person. You could see, and he actually mentioned that when he sat down with Becca to have a conversation, she expected that apology immediately. He didn't give it to her. Shame on him for doing that. You know, she deserves the apology, not us. We could care less, you know, about any of that. Austin, you damage your credibility in our eyes as well. But that's beside the point. You need to apologize to Becca about that situation. And let's move into our final couple. Brings us to Lauren and Orion. Now we know, again, they got divorced in like the third or fourth episode of the show. Immediately coming back from the honeymoon, they got divorced. They kind of were sprinkled out here and there throughout the rest of the season. At the end of around decision day, after decision day, where the two had conversations, Orion kind of put out the olive branch and said, hey, I'd like to be friends with you and still hang out and get to know you. Lauren said, yeah, okay, but you've got to be the one to reach out to me. So in this first episode after decision day, Orion did reach out to Lauren. He did ask her out on a date. She did go out with him. They played a pretty cool game of dodge arrows, which I've never seen before, but hey, it was pretty neat. They had blunted tips and like bean bags on the end of them, so it didn't do any pain or anything that we could see. But anyhow, they went out on this date as friends, as far as Lauren believed. While sitting down having a conversation, Orion kind of breached the topic of, hey, is there any way that, you know, we can go a little farther with this? Now, Lauren again took a step back and said, hold up, wait a minute. I'm in a good place mentally right now. I don't know if this is something that I want to do, but we can take it slowly as we move forward. My opinion of this whole situation is, to Lauren, obviously, if Orion reached out to you and he's been this kind of like nitpicky, nagging you down this whole process over the last couple weeks, he obviously sees something and wants to pursue it because he realized that he screwed up over that entire situation, which you were very apologetic about. You should have known that you're walking into a bear trap at this situation, and you either need to make the decision on if you want to put the full effort into it, to going out with him and figuring that process out, or if you're just going to, separate, because there's no chance of being friends with Orion. Orion's basically all or nothing at this point. You're either going to date and hopefully eventually get married in his eyes, or you're going to be nothing. So that's the recap on Lauren and Orion. Hopefully it helps you understand what happened in last night's Married at First Sight episode. Again, it is the first episode past decision day. As we move forward, a couple of these couples are going to get highlighted again next week. We are 14 days, I think, by the end of this episode away from Michael and Chloe's decision day. But again, next episode we're going to find out if they're actually going to make it to that point, because the wheels are off of that train. It is a steaming pile of fiery poo, and it just does not look promising for anybody. So thanks for joining Ash's Reality Recaps. See you next week.